الحمد لله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وله. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Today the talk will be about how to receive the month of Ramadan. You know, time passes so fast that we don't realize the days and the nights. Last year's Ramadan seems to be yesterday, and this is life. So we're about a few days to the month of Ramadan. Next Jum'ah, there is high probability that it will be the beginning of the month of Ramadan. And Ramadan, just like any training program, needs psychological as well as an emotional preparation. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ used to fast most of the month of Sha'ban in preparation for Ramadan. And as you know, fasting the month of Ramadan is one of the pillars of Islam. And Ramadan has a special place in the hearts and the minds of the Muslim Ummah, that the companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ will spend 6 months before Ramadan supplicating to Allah that they may reach Ramadan. And after that, they will supplicate for 6 more months to Allah that Allah would accept their good deeds in Ramadan. It is an investment season for khairat, for rewards. It is the best of all months. There is one night in the month of Ramadan where worship in that night is equal to 1,000 months. خير من ألف شهر. So it really needs our own attention. We need to plan how we receive Ramadan, how we behave in Ramadan, how we invest in Ramadan. You know, people in business, they invest in Ramadan also. Unfortunately, many of the Ummah, they focus on eating and drinking and all types of food and dress and celebrations, and they forget about the real spirit of Ramadan, which is the taqwa. كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم. Fasting has been prescribed for you as it had been prescribed for people before you. Therefore you acquire taqwa, closeness to Allah, piety. So we realize that there is an aim for Ramadan, which is acquiring taqwa. Any other aims are either subsidiary or interfering or valueless aims. Why Ramadan? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they used to call it the month of mercy. Why is it the month of mercy? Allah is more merciful all times, gracious all times, but He is more merciful in Ramadan. He is more gracious in Ramadan. And this is something that we need to focus on. On the month of Ramadan, all the doors of paradise will be opened, and all the doors of hell will be shayateen, maradat al-shayateen will be chained. They will not be allowed. So Allah has given us a chance for repentance, to gain more. Because in Ramadan, one prayer, al-wajib salatun fi Ramadan, just like 70 in other Ramadan. Okay? And making nafilah in Ramadan, just like making an obligatory form of worship other than Ramadan. This is an issue that we really need to focus on. One Umrah in Ramadan is equal to Hajj with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is why we need to plan all these things. So the month of Ramadan will not go without investing, taking care of this opportunity. We don't know if we're going to reach Ramadan. Does any of you guarantee that he will be there on next Friday? So this means it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you can say subhanallah, you could say alhamdulillah, you could recite Quran, you could pray, you could fast the month of Ramadan. And many people lived with us last Ramadan and they're not here with us now. So it's a blessing from Allah if we would reach Ramadan. Not because we are better than them, no Allah, but Allah has given us more chances. Not only to live, but to invest, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'am ya ikhwan. And this is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the end of Ramadan, last 10 days of Ramadan, he devoted himself completely, day and night, to worshiping Allah through i'tikaf. He would not leave the masjid. Do we plan to do just one day in Ramadan? Some people say, we have a lot of work. Can you do one night in Ramadan? Will you devote the whole night, the whole day, the whole 10 days of fast, last 10 days of Ramadan, just like the Sunnah Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How about Quran? شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم. It is the month of Quran. What are we going to do in the month of the Quran? Let me ask a question here. Who recites one chapter every day of Quran, one juz? How about one hizb, half a juz? 10 pages. 10 pages of the Quran every day. Hizb. Who recites half a hizb, which is 5 pages only of Quran every day? You see? You see? So sometimes, if I keep asking the question, we'll find people who don't recite Quran at all. Don't we have time for 1 page a day? Yeah, we need really re-question ourselves. Sometimes we realize our mistake. This is, they say in change, in the theory of change, if you recognize your mistake, that this is what I'm doing is wrong, is 50% of change, 51%. 49% is the next step. So we recognize that we are away from the Quran. And this is the month of Ramadan. How much Quran we're going to recite in the month of Ramadan? You see? And if you look at the reward, it is al-hasanatu bi-ashri amthaliha. Just one letter of the Quran with 10 hasanas. Alif, Lam, Mim. How many hasanas? 30. And Ramadan? You see, Ramadan is unique, ya ikhwan, for change, for starting a new life. Allah is not in need of us. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. If you don't leave doing evil and saying evil and hearing to evil, Allah is not in need of you to starve yourself. You make yourself hungry and thirsty. He's not in need of you. This is for you to recognize that you are going through a different program. It's different than any other day. Those people are miskeen whose days in Ramadan are similar to their days in other than Ramadan. They don't know the value of Ramadan. Yes, we need to work a bit hard, but this is a training program. When you go into training, you'll work for longer hours, you need more energy, you sacrifice more, you invest in your time more, you learn more. And this is why even the scholars of Islam, Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayh in Medina, when the month of Ramadan comes, he stops all his da'wah work, all his teaching activities, and devote himself to Quran. This is the month of Quran. Have you thought about that? Who plans to read 3 juz every day in Ramadan, every day of Ramadan, that you read the Quran 3 times? Who plans to do that? Nobody. We have not thought of Ramadan. This is a disaster. You see, you may not reach Ramadan, But with your good niyyah, you get the reward. Let's say somebody say, I'll recite Quran inshallah Ramadan 10 times. I'll pay this amount of money inshallah for sadaqah. I'll spend 10 days in the masjid. I'll visit my relatives, or I call some of those people that I loved and been away from. I'll reconcile with those people. I'll do this, I'll do this. And before Ramadan, with day or two, that person dies. Is he going to be rewarded?
Yes.
Yes. So, ikhwan, have this intention. Always have good intention. Sometimes you say, I made many good intentions, but I couldn't do it. But you train yourself to think of good things to do. You develop positive sense of who you are. Positive sense of yourself. You are always optimistic that I'll do this. I'm not doing things in the right way now, but I'll do them in the future. Yes, I'm not good with myself now. I watch bad TV. I listen to bad music. I do these things, but I will not do them in Ramadan. You see? I say bad things. I gossip about Al-Hassan every time. You see? But in Ramadan, I'll stop it. I'll stop it. You see? So you really prepare yourself to do things that are good and avoid things that are bad. And believe me, you know, your mind, your time, your money, your health has space for good and bad. The more space you give for bad deeds, the lesser space you give for good deeds. As the space for bad deeds shrinks, there is more room for good. This is reality. Just this, like this cup or this glass, okay? Now it's full of water. Can you put anything in it? You will spill it over, okay? But if you drink from it, Bismillah. Now we have, I could put rose water there. I could put whatever, okay? Juice, stones, whatever. As much space that you give, as much space that you're going to get. This is life. So let's really think of Ramadan in a different way. Let's make this Ramadan, bi'idhnillah, the best Ramadan we ever lived in our lives. How many Ramadan have you fasted? Huh? 30?
10 years.
10 years? Al-Hassan?
No.
40? You see? So let's make it the best Ramadan that we have lived. The best Ramadan, even if Allah gives you a chance to this Ramadan, do you guarantee that you'll be there next Ramadan, next year? Sometimes it's your last chance to go to paradise. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us chances. We should be thankful Allah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. على شكر على فضله ومنه وإحسانه أن أعطانا هذه الفرصة. Give us this chance. Ya akhwan, it says that sometimes it's the last chance. If you don't really take it, you may not get it. Many people thought of changing their lives. Say, oh, I'm still young. You say, when I have money, inshallah, I'll change my things. I'll just work harder. And we start having all these hopes, but we're not taking actions. We're not taking actions. This is why Quran in Ramadan plays a great role. When we recite Quran more, we understand it more. It reflects on our lives and minds more. I'll give you a story of a child who has his grandfather. They were sitting next to a fireplace. You know a fireplace? Yeah. Where you set fire. And they were having a bucket, you know, bucket out of, made out of, what do you call it, palm tree leaves. You have this in Africa everywhere. They carry coal on it, you know, coal. So it's black, full of dust, coal, dust. And this child came to his grandpa and said, grandfather, every time you read Quran and next to this fireplace, just once, you know, sometimes you read a book 1, 2, 3 times and khalas, you cannot read it more, see? Most books you read for one. Why? How many times you've read this? He said, I don't know, my son. Hundreds of times. All my life I've been reading this. It is my companion. And this is something unique about the Quran. Nobody in the world has read a book 10 times. And you cannot read it even 5 times. You'll get bored. But the more you read the Quran, the more you don't feel bored. Subhanallah. This is unique for the Quran. So he said, why, khalas, stop reading it. He said, my son, I want you to take this bucket to the river and bring me some water. Said, Grandpa, how come? He said, I told you, listen to me. I'm giving you a lesson, my son. Just do what I ask you to do. He said, it's up to you. The child went down to the river. Shh. By the time he gets home, said, look, you play games with me, Grandpa. I said, no, go back again. You might. And he went for a second time. Oh, Grandpa, you're making tricks with me. He said, no, I'm not making tricks. Try it for third time, my son. He went third time. And he filled the bucket. Fourth time. The child said, I'm not going to go anymore. You are really giving me hard time, old man. No, it's not Grandpa anymore. Old man, huh? He said, my son, now look at the bucket. He looked at the bucket. He said, did you see anything? Yes, it has changed. What changed? He said, it's white and clean. He said, this is how the Quran cleans your heart. You don't realize that it's there, but it really cleans your heart as you read this Quran. So, brothers, get close to the Quran, Allah. We have time to read many times. You know how much a chapter takes from you? How much time a chapter? From 15 to 20 minutes. Half an hour if you're very slow. You see? Really, I mean it. Don't you have half an hour for the Quran? Subhanallah. How much time we have for the bathroom? I'm sorry to say that. How much time you have for TV? How much time you have gossiping, for gossiping? You don't have time, have an hour to cleanse your life, your mind, your heart, to get closer to Allah. This is the book of Allah. This is the book of Quran, is the book of Allah. And it is the most beloved words for Allah to recite. So you're doing what pleases Allah the most. Isn't He going to please you the most? This is something that we need to look off. To Ramadan, it is an opportunity that we take care of, that we plan well before going there, that we decide what we want to do, because it may not come back again. And even if it comes back again, you have lost a very crucial and important opportunity in your life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. Is there a businessman here? ما حد business عندكم? No business? You know business people? They invest in Ramadan. I met somebody in the Haram from Egypt. He was a big merchant. I mean, very rich man. Sheikh Abdul Fattah. Was an old man also. He had many factories in Egypt. He rented a room like 40,000-50,000 riyals for the month of Ramadan. Yeah, next to Al-Haram, these towers. But he doesn't live in them. He didn't live in them. He lived in the Haram. But he was an old man. He couldn't go to the bathrooms and these things. He would go there to wash, to clean himself and come back. So he had a lot of money. Every time he was making salah. And making salah with the Quran. If he couldn't stand up, he would sit down and start. Salah. Every time. You see him most of the day and night he's doing that. With the exceptions of times where it's really not allowed to make sunnah. Said to him, his name was Sheikh Talat. Said, Sheikh Talat, what are you doing? He said, my son, one salah in Mecca equal to 100,000 salah anywhere else. And I want the Quran to be part of my salah. So every Quran I recite, it will be 100,000. This is how businessmen think about it. Yes, this is why the Sahaba, some of them, many of them were good businessmen. So they know how to invest. They know how. Said Abdullah, I closed my factories. I left my business. I'm not ready here to make jokes and to play games. You see most Muslims, what they do in Mecca? From one restaurant to another, and they just move around and look at the things and, oh, beautiful minarets. And this is what's going on. You need to invest in your time. Your time is very precious. Precious than time anywhere else in the world. And the reward is very great. So, brothers, I don't want to make it too long for you. I just want to remind myself first, and you next, that if Allah gives us a chance, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a chance, Allahumma ballighna Ramadan, Allahumma ballighna Ramadan, Allahumma ballighna Ramadan, Allahumma arzuqna fihi ibadatan sadiqa wa raghbatan ilayk wa ajran min indik, Allahumma la tahrimna iyyah ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma ansur dinak wa kitabak wa sunnata nabiyyik wa ibadaka as-salihin. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.